ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the CD Racoola Show. Today on this episode of the show, we will be crawling underneath the sofa, creepy crawling up the walls, and going deep down in the dark, damp sewer as we take a look at the 1997 film Mimic. I think this film actually spreads its little cockroach wings and flies under the radar for a lot of horror fans out there. The film kicks off with the little kiddies of New York City dying in what is called a Strickler's disease, carried by the city's cockroach population. In order to combat this, the city hires an entomologist, or bug scientist for us laymen, to create a new hybrid species of the insect, aptly named the Judas breed. Oh, that's a scary name, isn't it? Like they didn't know things were gonna go sideways with a new species named the Judas breed. Anywho, this new Judas breed bug releases a gross little enzyme from its butt that kills all these cockroaches, thus eliminating the Strickler's disease and saving the kiddies of the city. Woohoo for you! What they didn't know that 3 years later, the Judas breed evolves into a fully functioning giant cockroach with the ability to mimic its prey. Oh, by the way, its prey is humans. Oh, hey, that's my prey too. Something the Judas breed and I have in common, you know. This film flies under the radar, as I said before, for me, for lots of reasons, but the story for this film and how the Judas breed came to be is pretty cool. The film was actually based off the short story, also named Mimic, written by Donald A. Wollheim. The film was directed by none other than one of my goats of horror, Guillermo del Toro. He's done so much great work in the horror genre. It's hard to hit all of it because I just don't have the time, you know. But some of his highlights for me are his work in the films, starting off with Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy 1 and 2. Oh, I love the Ron Perlman Hellboy, by the way. I hope to see Ron come back and reprise his role as Hellboy at some point. That would be a lot of fancies. Some other highlights are Blade 2, The Daywalker, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, Mama, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and The Witches. He also co-authored the Strain novels that I really enjoyed. Kind of a different take on the vampy novels, but definitely a fun ride. I read all of those books, by the way. Not that I'm bragging, but I, of course, am. As I'm naming off all these projects he has been a part of, that he's done, it really gets me itching to do some reviews on more of Guillermo's stuff. The Strain television series, and definitely Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, some fun characters in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, that mimicked the epic artwork of those novels. Okay, sorry, I digressed. I just love all things horror. Okay, so back to Mimic. Another thing that made this film great, was the look of the Judas breed bugs that were basically, as I said before, just giant cockroaches. And I'm not really talking about the look of the roaches when they got all supercomputer animated on us in this 1997 film, when they were in like full roach mode, but when they were in their humic mimic form with the mask over their face and using their wings to cover themselves to look like a creepy guy in a trench coat. It's really a cool look, and such a good idea for a horror film. The roaches were kind of a giant Dick Tracy in cockroach form, maybe? Okay, that's a bad comparison. I'm just trying to do something with the trench coaches. Coats, you know, coaches, roaches, whatever. That's reaching pretty far, though, CD. That's reaching pretty far with Dick Tracy. The young autistic boy, Chewie, in this film, played by Alexander Goodwin, who's able to mimic the Judas Breed's noises, calls the bug Mr. Funny Shoes. Mr. Funny Shoes turns out to be not so funny in this film, as they kill and eat multiple people. That's an even scarier name than the Judas Breed. Mr. Funny Shoes sounds like he should be a scary clown or something. But it just turns out he's a man-eating giant roach. No big deal. Starring in this film, you had Mira Sorvino as the good doctor Susan Tyler, whom was the creator of the Judas Breed bug. Mira Sorvino has been in lots of television and film, not so much horror, but will always be remembered by myself and lots of others out there for Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. And yes, I did watch that film, and yes, I enjoyed it. Don't judge old CD. Pretty deep cast with Josh Brolin also in this film, Mr. Thanos himself or whatever. Charles Dutton in this film, who's also in Alien 3. Murray Abram in this film. I wish he would do more horror movies, by the way. I think he'd make a good vampire or something. One of the surprises for me, and I don't know if you noticed this, because he didn't play a big part in the film, was Norman Reedus. Mr. Walking Dead bad boy Daryl Dixon himself played the small role of the sanitation worker in Mimic who pulled the hulking shell of a dead Judas Breed pup out of the sewage. It was a great cast, and some actors who you may have forgotten were in this film. One of the low-key, scariest scenes of the film, at least to me, was when the guy was in the lair of the Judas Breed bugs, and there were thousands upon thousands of the creatures hanging upside down, like vampire bats, on the ceiling. I don't know why, but all those roaches, it was just creepy to me, you know. I think the cockroaches are very scary. They're so fast, and they're very, very hard to kill. One of those creatures that you can be glad that you are larger than. Because even a cockroach the size of a kitten would be enough to send me, an immortal vampire and creature of the night myself, up a wall. Mimic had subsequent sequel films after its initial success, with Mimic 2 and Mimic 3, but those were not as good as this original 1997 film, in my opinion, of course. Just my opinion, that's what you hear anyway. Mimic is going to get pretty darn high marks on the old Scarometer because of the uniqueness, and I think it's a film that people don't give enough credit for how good it really is. The only real knock I had on the film was once the Judas Breed were in full cockroach mode. They looked a little cheesy and too CGI for me. CGI should be a word, by the way. I certainly wouldn't mind seeing this film remade with today's technology and make the roaches a little more horrifying. It's funny to think about, but I actually think the giant bug in Men in Black was kind of scary looking. You know, the one who's wearing the Edgar suit. Sugar and water. So yes, a remake would be a lot of fun. Watch this 1997 film again. If you haven't seen it in a while, it's worth it. I would like to take this time to thank you once again for joining me here on the CD Racoola Show. And if you could just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, you know you want to. Do it! Just do it! Be sure to come back next episode of the show when I take a look at the hit film Renfield, starring none other than old Nicky Cage. So, till next time, my little human blood smoothies. Be sure to keep this in mind. Cockroaches have been around long before humankind, and will be around long after, mind you. But then again, so will I. Bye-bye for now.